Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Howdy, my name's Fox.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. Nice to be here.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, well, most people call me Fox, most of my friends that I make music with, but, that's really hard to find if you just Google it. So,
yes.
I guess
the full video game franchise, I think.
Yeah, totally. Many probably. Star Fox.
Oh, yeah. Sly Fox.
Oh, Sly Fox.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then, of course, there's all the movie stars with the last name of Fox.
Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine there was probably a Fox and the Hound game on some console. Really digging in deep on that one.
I mean, maybe that could be a treasure trove of samples if there is. Maybe I should look into that.
I know there is a whole line of Disney Game Boy games. Start there.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Let's get back to you.
Yes. So the long nom de plume is Dusty Fox. And I make music in Portland, Oregon. Mm-hmm. I've been involved in the hip hop community out there since 2011 or 2012.
Okay.
So I'm becoming an old head
yeah, because you're over a decade now.
Yes, I'm I've been around. I've rapped in several dive bars, and I'm still doing it. I currently am mostly making music with my good friend Alex Meltzer. Mm-hmm. And we have a duo called Atota, ATOTA.
Yes, which we're going to talk about more in the middle of this. So I'm excited for that. But let's go ahead. Let's start right at the beginning. What got you into music initially? Where did it start for you?
I think it just started with silly freestyle ciphers with my friends.
Okay, so you got into it just through rap and hip hop.
Yes. I was around a lot of music growing up. Mm-hmm. But I never really dedicated myself to the pursuit of playing an instrument, which I must admit I have some regrets about.
I mean, it's technically never too late.
Yeah, true indeed.
Was anybody in your household musical, instruments wise? Yeah,
my dad, he plays the keys.
Oh, yep. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Did he play in a band? Did he just have a piano around the house?
He had a Yamaha keyboard when we were kids. Mm-hmm. And then he got a Hammond B3 when we were or when my brother and I were maybe in middle school, because he was from the funk era of the 70s, and he played in a band during the 70s and maybe early 80s, and he has some pretty crazy stories about playing around the Northwest and stuff like that. So I was always around a lot of music, but my interests were not super in music when I was a kid. And
how old were you when you started freestyling and such, just getting into it?
Just probably middle school.
Okay, so
high school.
10. I don't know how old you are in middle school.
Maybe 13.
Okay.
12, 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you got into it at a very formidable time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And mostly as a fan, and it started with just memorizing all of these lyrics and being able to recite them to my friends and impress them that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then once you started doing that for a little bit, you're like, I could do this.
Yeah, I guess you're just oh, let's try it. Let's see where it goes.
Totally.
But it was, I didn't really take it seriously until probably my late teens or early 20s, and then I was like, oh, this is cool. This is an outlet, an artistic outlet.
Gotcha.
This is this is something that's providing value to me. So
okay, so it was always around, but then, you know, like a decade after you kind of started thinking about it, you got really into it.
yeah, mostly because I then found a community where people were supportive and welcoming and into the same things that I was into, which is not to say I didn't have that as a kid. It was just my friends were really peripherally into it. They were into hip hop as like fans, and they weren't super into making hip hop.
I had mostly not music friends when I was growing up. It was a really odd duality of like, I had my like circle of people I made music with, but then a large majority of my like daytime hang friends were all like sports people.
Oh yeah,
like much taller than me. Never quite figured that one out, but I think that's just sometimes that's how it ends up happening.
Yeah.
And you know, that hence why you're still doing it now. Now, before we get into more of what you're doing, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Certainly.
And this first one's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
I know what it was. I remember this. I bought it at Hastings.
Okay.
Which was a regional, you know, small time books, video rental, and had a music section. A lot of funny stories about Hastings, but that's for another time. The first album I ever bought was Beastie Boys' License to Ill.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was because of being in like elementary school and my friends and I memorizing like rap lyrics.
Gotcha.
Someone, I think it was my older brother, who was like, "Oh, you got to check out this Paul Revere verse." And so we didn't have YouTube at the time. I think he might have just recited it to me. This is almost pre-burning CDs. This would have been when I was a little kid. This would have been like the late 90s, you know? So people weren't really even burning CDs that much back then.
Are you from here originally?
I grew up in Spokane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pacific Northwest your whole life. Gotcha. Okay. Totally. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. But I do recall later on in elementary school, one of my friend's older brothers burned, I forget what it was. I think it was a Jay-Z album, and he ended up getting sued by the label. He was like one of the early Napster.
Oh, no. Damn.
I will call them a victim because I think, you know, I don't think what they were doing was that bad, especially by today's standards. But,
yeah.
You know.
That was the floodgates for everything that is now anyways.
Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Will they come on the show sometime and talk? No, I'm kidding.
I haven't talked to that kid in like probably 20 years, but I wouldn't know where to find him.
Well, if you're watching,
yes,
hit me up. But getting back to you, what was the first live show you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to? So like you saw it was happening, you got the tickets, you went to it.
Oh man, it was a banger. Let me tell you, 5th grade.
Oh dang. Okay, starting off early.
Went to Weird Al. Yep, downtown Spokane at Riverfront Park. It was sick.
Okay. That's
on
cool.
Board with Eat It, I believe.
Interesting.
But he did like Amish Paradise. He did all of that.
Hell yeah.
All the hits.
Damn,
it was sick.
I imagine he puts on a great show.
Yeah.
I feel like he would have to at a certain point, but he's just such a
Yeah. It was sick. He had a big blow up Weird Al in the background too. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I bought the tickets actually. If that's the qualifier.
That's a cool enough show to have mentioned regardless.
That was my first show. That was like my first concert.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's fast forward a little bit later and like what was the first one you took yourself to?
It would have just been like some emo band that was touring through Spokane that I wouldn't have even known. I couldn't tell you who it would have been now. I just remember like all of my friends were in bands. They were in like emo and hardcore bands in high school. And so it'd be like, oh, they're $10 at like whatever, you know, all ages dive. I don't even remember what it was called, but that was probably like the first show I actually bought a ticket to. And then later on, I bought myself a ticket to go to Warped Tour with my older brother.
Okay.
College buddies.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. That was probably fun too.
That was sick. Yeah.
I'm sad that like Warped Tour is one of the only like regularly occurring things that happened near where I was that I like didn't go to. I went to pretty much everything else. It's just like every time something came up and I couldn't do, like it was always like a family reunion or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was sick. It was a formative like 2000s kid experience, I feel like, you know.
Hell yeah. And then before we officially get into the now, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Good question. I would say when I moved to Portland in like late 2011, my buddy Mighty Misk was starting Hungry Hungry Hip Hop, which is a long-standing Portland institution, and
very much so.
And I arrived in Portland like just days before the very first one, and so I was able to be there for the first one and kind of see like the very early seeds of that being planted. So I think just being around that and being around that community and getting to like just start knowing all of the a lot of people who become good friends now, but like Portland rappers and like hip hop community members through Mighty Misk and through that, I was like, oh yeah, I should, you know, I'd been recording a little bit and writing, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like just really like make this a priority.
Were you recording at home, or like were you like going to a studio and like actually putting stuff down?
It was like a studio, but it was through Hip Hop Congress, this like club in college. I went to Evergreen State up in Olympia, and it was just like, oh, we can, you know, we're getting like $500 from the college. And this is actually Mighty Misk that organized this too, back when we were going to college together.
Oh dang, okay.
That we got like money from the college to record, and the like 15 kids that were all rappers in the club or whatever, like would go to this dude's house and record, and we put out like a really like not polished mixtape together.
A rough mix.
Yeah. A rough mix that never got polished.
It was just a little loose.
Yes.
A lot of room for interpretation.
Yes. But I revisited some of those tracks recently, and they were fun and meant a lot to listen to.
I always wish that people would go back and revisit some of their like earliest work and like do like an album of just like, these were the hits for me. Like these were my hits to me as I was coming up. These are the ones that stood out, and this is how I would have done them now. And then you could do like an A side is all the songs, the B side is all the original ones if you want to.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I'm gonna keep saying that on here until somebody does it.
That's a good idea. I think it's cool to listen to your old stuff, like, and to I think it's easy to listen to it critically and be like, oh, I was, you know, and most people do, like you're saying, they listen to it and they like cringe or whatever, but it so much of it like captures a moment in time. And if you go back and like think about who you were as a person and everything that you had going on in your life,
the story of the song that like went into it is just like, and I, for me, just because I've always done like engineering and mixing and things like that, I like hearing it on different things.
Oh yeah.
So, like as time progresses, as I haven't listened to it for longer, as I like get used to a new system that I'm working on, or I'm somewhere where I'm going to be using the same one for a while, I'll just pop on a couple of the oldies.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just to be like, nice, I never noticed that little bit of it. Or, this mix still stands up. Or, still trash.
Yeah. No. Sometimes I'm like, I miss this, you know, like I miss this side of myself.
Yeah, the like almost like guerrilla-esque tactic of like, you just have to do it whenever you can, wherever you can, however you can, and whatever you make from it. You're like, this was the best I could do, I think.
Sometimes that sounds better.
Yeah.
A lot of times it does.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead. Let's go on to more of the present day. And we're going to get a super easy one out of the way. How'd you pick the name?
The name, I hitchhiked across America the summer of 2010. And without getting into too much detail, because it's a long story, at one point I found an injured fox and had like a pretty cool experience, like helping it out. And from then I kind of like just looked at the animal, because I like to like think about animals and archetypes and the way that animals, you know, operate in their ecosystems and stuff. And I really started to like admire the fox for how it's kind of on the margins. Like, you know, you'll find it sort of around where people are and sort of not. And it's very good at adapting to environments and kind of outsmarting and outwitting things that want to do it harm. And I think it just kind of, after that experience of helping that fox out, it just became like a kind of maybe some like a reoccurring theme for me. And I was like, oh, cool, fox.
Hell yeah, I dig that.
Good pen name, you know? It's common enough that if I want to be obscure, I can be. And it was nice.
Hell yeah. And what made you choose to add on the word dusty as the like way to separate it?
I was and still and in many ways still am kind of dusty, like
okay,
not always polished, just might have gotten off of the road or a travel somewhere.
Gotcha.
I mean, I like to take care of myself and
but you're
clean.
fine. You're fine wearing the world on you as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Gotcha.
I think that I'm usually drawn to people who in some ways have a story to tell that's more than about like their quest for material goods.
Yes.
And some people see a dusty person or a world-worn person and they think, ew, that's not the kind of person I want to be around. Like they're not polished enough to look cool around me. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I want to gather around those people who have done some cool things or things that I think are cool, you know?
They have cool stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because now Dusty has become like part of this, like, I would say like the new era of rap, like
right, yeah, Lil Dusty like, G and things like that,
or just like like so and so is like super dusty. It's like they're
gotcha the word,
they're just like like a scrub,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, well, I think like in a way I kind of like it even more now. It's like this like negative connotation to it.
I mean, that's definitely a cool approach to it. Also, I do this bit where I break down names, and it's a cool one. Like, I mean, words wise, easy to spell, easy to remember. It's got a cool sound to it. Like when you hear it, it just like Dusty Fox. Like it somehow hits and then hits again in a really cool way. And I mean, good letters. It's shaped well, so you can play around with it a lot. Unfortunately, the word fox is a great word to make look like the face of a fox. So it's definitely been done before. But I mean, how many words do you get? Like what? Orange is another one. There aren't many words out there where like you can make them look like the shape even.
Right. Totally.
So that's just something, those are just my observations.
Thank you. I like those observations.
Yeah.
I also like that it could be like a real name. Like it could, like some people are like, oh, is that your real name? Because yes, I'm Dustin Fox. Nice. You know what I mean?
You should tell people your first name's Dustin, but then tell them your last name's not Fox.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all heard it here.
Yes. Maybe I'll just start. I want to start lying to people and telling them my name's not what it is. My real name is Alex. You know, and that's and I like that name, and it's both Alex and Dusty Fox or Fox have served me well. So, but I like to, I have like business endeavors and other things that I don't necessarily want tied to. Not that I feel like I'm ashamed of anything I've said.
No, it's just easy. It's just helpful to sometimes keep the realms separate for just the case of like paying attention to what's happening.
Yeah. I don't want to get like Googled by like some like border security agent trying to get into Canada and they're like, this guy's a rapper. Which happened to me actually coming back from Canada. But anyway, I won't get into that.
Yes, we'll leave that for next time. Now let's go ahead. Let's talk about your writing process. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What do you do to get a track started?
I just loop it.
Okay.
I just loop. I get beats from a small, like I'm willing to get beats from a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
you have a small crew of people you get them from regularly.
Yeah. I end up writing to like, basically like Meltzer, gas bar beats. And I just loop it. I loop it and write. That's whether it can happen anywhere. Sometimes it happens like while I'm waiting for something, or like it literally can happen anywhere. It's just wherever I get a chance to like put a beat on, and then sometimes it hits and I'm like, okay, cool. Like usually it's if the first line if I can pull something good for the first line, then I'm like, okay, there's somewhere to take this.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. And then as far as getting the words out, are you just doing it into your phone usually, since that sounds like the most accessible?
It's always like just the Apple Notes.
When you have the opportunity to, do you do pen to paper, or do you just like to stay on phone full time?
No, I love the editing. I love the editing on the fly of the phone. And I don't usually like to I like to memorize the song before I record it. I don't like to read it off of my phone. Yeah. But sometimes you don't have the chance and you're like, or you need to reference something. You're like, I can't remember the end of this verse or whatever. But no, my editing process is just revisiting a song like hundreds of times and tweaking and adding things to it and being like, this word isn't right, or this doesn't sound right, or I'm saying too much here. How can I say the same thing with less words? That's pretty much what it is. So I just have instrumentals on my phone, and I like what.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What usually happens is like a collection of whatever beats I've been writing to will just be like a project. Which is cool because usually that producer has been working on those beats for a set period of time. So it's like, oh, if your vibes can intersect and you're like, oh, I was making sad beats while I went through a breakup or whatever, like, you know, and then you're in there, you know? So, it's just revisiting like a collection of 10 songs over and over and over again, and then being like, okay, I think these are ready to record.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much it. It's not very exhilarating.
Hey, that's okay. It's if you find what works, do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I edit the show 6 to 7 nights a week. If you watch me, there's nothing fancy happening, but if it works, it works.
Totally. You got to find your groove.
Yeah. And so I take it then by the time you've got a song finished writing, you've pretty much memorized it then. Is that safe to assume?
Yes, although I really like to perform it once before I record it.
Yeah.
I'm on that like stand-up comedian thing.
That's why I always ask if it's like once it's done writing versus once it's recorded, because recorded you can kind of do whenever.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to technically be done writing for you to be able to record it. But I'm always curious to know, like, once people get done with the writing process, like, how ready are they to perform it? And like I said, it sounds like you're pretty much, by the time the song is done being written, you are just good to go.
Yeah, I just want to perform new music.
Yeah.
I don't perform that often nowadays. Like, and when I do, I want to be like, oh, here's like 6 new songs or whatever.
Well, surprise, you're actually going to...
Behind this curtain, there's a
whole stage. Yes. And they know all your music.
Nice.
Ooh. Somebody who knows everybody's music, hit me up. No, I'm kidding. All right. Oh, you know what? Since we already talked about how quick you can perform something, let's go ahead and talk about some of your music.
Oh, cool.
And, I jumped on Yield Spotify.
Nice.
And under your primary name, you've got music going back to 2022, mostly in the form of those 2 EPs. There's A Tale of Two Alexanders, and then the sequel, A Toda to A Dim Light in the Basement.
Mm-hmm.
And is A Toda, is it allowed to be called that?
Yeah. That's usually what we call it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It is rad acronym.
Oh, thank you.
Again, big fan of names.
Yeah. And it's a palindrome.
Yes. So, and you know the word palindrome. Yeah. Yes. It is cool in a lot of ways. The O in the center and the 2 T's followed by, like, it just, there's so many things you could do with that. It's kind of limited. I grew up with graphic art and design happening in my household a lot, so I just see these things.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a rad one. But I was checking it out, and again, it is primarily you, and is it Meltzer?
Meltzer.
Yeah. With the exception of one feature from Rufus Small Towns, and after checking them both out, I gotta say, they're solid.
Oh, thank you.
They're solid. Like, I mean, obviously the first one was a little earlier in the career, so it didn't hit quite as hard. But I mean, the beats were dope. Your bars were locked. You were just solid. And like, it painted a really cool picture of like, just like obviously your ability to like understand the craft and execute it well.
Appreciate that.
Then I'm talking within seconds of the second one, the gloves were off. You could just tell, because 30 degrees of Fahrenheit just comes in so strong. It's not even that it's aggressive. It's just that it was such a present sound. It was such a powerful way to open it. It reminded me, not so much in like delivery, but in essence, it reminded me of 6 Days by DJ Shadow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for anybody who knows that song, that's a great thing to be compared to, at least in my opinion. But it had that, and it's such a complete experience for not being a huge track count. From bell to buzzer. It just paints this really vivid picture, and I think y'all just crushed it on execution.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm sorry I went long in that one.
Oh, I appreciate it.
But I am curious to know, out of all the music you have available, what are some of your favorite tracks to perform?
I have a lot of music with that's not on Spotify, that's just lurking on SoundCloud. And I played with a live band for several years.
Oh, whoa.
A band called Two Planets.
Okay.
And some of that's out there too. And I feel like at weird times I like to dip into that catalog. And I had a chance to do it last summer at Hungry Hungry Hip Hop. I was kind of inspired by my friend Corey B, who did a set of all B-sides and unreleased tracks, and did many of those songs, and it was cool to revisit them. I think in general, my favorite stuff to perform is whatever is new. To me, there's more. It's hard to say purity, but there's more like presentness in the new material. And I definitely think that like artists should feel that whatever they're working on currently is their best work, because if they feel they're not, then they need to reassess, what that's about. But out of the stuff that I've done with Meltzer, one of my favorite songs to perform is probably Rose Gold Cold Snow. That one's a fun one. That's the last song at the end of a Tota 1. I'm pretty sure that's the last song. So, that's probably my favorite of that stuff to perform.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I got a song with Gaspar called Caffeine, Nicotine, Etc. And it's a really fun one to perform because it's got a fun hook.
Gotcha. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sorry for the long-winded answer.
That's all right. I mean, well, now y'all know you got to go see him live.
That's
where the magic happens.
I think I'm playing one show for sure this summer. I'm playing a show. It's the Hungry Hungry Hip Hop End of Summer Party. I think I can, it's about to be officially announced. I think it's booked. So I think no harm in me telling you, especially because I'm sure by the time this comes out, the show will be announced. But we got Blueprint headlining it, the legendary Blueprint.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yep, hell yeah. And then Spinach, who's incredible.
Yeah, shout out Spinach.
Yep. Corey B, and then myself and Meltzer.
Hell yeah.
Rounding the night out. So yeah, it's going to be super fun. That's August 23rd at Mississippi Pizza. Yeah. Part of Blueprints. I forgot the name of the tour. That's terrible of me. It was just announced.
That's okay. That's okay. If it makes you feel any better, I'm sad I won't be able to be there. That is the night of my showcase.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yay.
Cool.
We're both doing music.
Glad that we're both doing.
Well, I mean, I'm not doing music. I'm recording audio and filming stuff. But music is still happening in multiple places, and that is always a win.
But I won't be able to be at your showcase, and you won't be able to be at that show. Well,
I do mine every month.
Maybe we can look at the same moon and share a moment of cosmic solidarity.
I imagine those paths will cross at some point for sure.
Oh yeah.
But now let's take a moment. Let's zoom out. What are you listening to right now? What are you just kind of taking in as a music consumer?
Let's see what I've been listening. My tastes vary extensively, so these are not all hip hop artists by any means.
That's okay.
I've been listening to lately a lot of brand new. Which is, I know, controversial. I've been listening to a ton of country of all varieties. It's in full swing right now. Yes, but I've been on that for years and years.
Yeah.
Not the pop stuff. Like, well, now it's even cliche and trendy to be into like alt country and singer songwriter stuff. But
I mean, it's cringy to be into everything at some point.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I
you like it, you like it.
Yeah, I unabashedly love like country and folk music, hardcore, emo.
Now we're in a place in time where genres have blended so much that like it's not as stigmatized to like multiple things.
Yeah,
like
totally.
now it's very commonplace for like the hardcore genres to also like hip hop. You know what I mean? Whereas before they didn't quite intersect all the time. Like, country can enjoy other things now because people who make it also listen to other things. It's not some weird circle where you have to just stay in your lane as a listener anymore.
Yeah, I think the pinnacle of whatever those genres pop stars are, like whether it's, let's say, I don't know, is Post Malone like a country star? I'm not sure, but whatever. He kind of was country adjacent and also hip hop adjacent at one point, right? But it's like, if you go pop enough in any of those genres, like it all kind of starts to sound the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the formula for what works in a large space has long been figured out.
Yeah.
It's not a secret what things work. All you have to do is be able to back it with some level of talent and malleability.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then,
good luck, a ton of money, just the right places at the right time, a bunch of people and connections, and good opportunity or two. So
Absolutely.
that's just that old stuff.
Just all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just all the stuff that most regular people don't have.
Oh yeah. Oh darn it.
Talent, money, opportunity.
Well, hey, plenty of people have talent. It's the rest of the stuff.
Well, speak for yourself, buddy. Speak for yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Now, before we get into this next part, this next question is probably the densest question in the interview.
Oh, all right.
But we've talked about, your experience with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Yeah, it gives, I haven't gotten a lot from music in terms of like commercial success or money.
Same.
But I've gotten back like a lot of like really, really close, dear friendships.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten opportunity to like travel and share my music with people a little bit around the US and a little bit like outside of the US.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been cool. And just in terms of what the art form has given me, it's given me really something to like dedicate myself to. It's cool to see progression with art or with athletics or music or whatever it is. Just if you continue to show up, I think, and give yourself to something and be honest. And if you find something that you love and you're willing to spend time doing, like, you'll always get something back from it. I think that's whatever they called the muse or whatever, where you're like getting back some kind of high from it, or catharsis and dealing with your emotions, or, an outlet so that you can say things that maybe you can't say in everyday life to people in just casual conversations,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's given a lot. It's, I've become really okay with the fact that like, I'm not doing this for like any other reason than I want to serve the art and that I love it and I want to share it with people, the few people that are around me that really enjoy it, and maybe the one or two people out there in the world that are fans or whatever. Like, I think one thing that I struggle with hip hop is there's so much like doing it big-isms in hip hop.
Yeah.
And I think that's a relic of a period where like people had to do that.
I want to expand on that a little bit further. First of all, phenomenal answer. Like, usually I like to like interject and like expand on things, but you couldn't have said that better. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. As far as the big-isms, that is actually something that's happening more in just the narrative of like music and pop culture at the moment. Like the like everything has to be a movie, everything has to be their era, everything has to be like, there's so many like big and expansive additions to these things that aren't meant to be those things. Like, it's not that they're not iconic in their own ways, it's not that they're not important in their own ways, it's that they're not supposed to be those things that you're calling them. They're supposed to be their own things so that you can love them and enjoy them in their own senses. But when like somebody has to make a tour a whole era, like, that's a long time. That's that's a length.
Yeah.
That's potential generations, so to speak. So like that's a heavy burden to put on somebody, to be like, oh, these next 2 years of your life you have to make definitive. You have to like, these have to solidify. There we go. Solidify you in the essence of this forever. And if you don't do that, then you lose people who were already there with you, but you'll gain people that weren't before. Like, that's not fair as a human. That's not fair to do to a human. That's not what our brains are meant to be built for. We're supposed to enjoy the now as the moment that it is. We're supposed to create these things to create new nows, not to exist in the past forever.
Totally.
Yeah. Sorry, I ran with that really far.
No, I think that's an interesting thought. I think the biggest burden that people put on themselves as artists is the burden to be successful. Yeah. And I think that comes from a place where,
well, you're saying in hip hop, even like how does it
especially in hip hop, just because you know the cliche of like the local rapper who is trying to convince everybody that they're really rich and famous, when they're playing like the same 5 venues that everyone plays.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, whatever, like that's your journey to be on. And hey, like if that's how you want to spend your time, and cool. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't really want to be around it, you know, like I've grown less and less patience with, or less, and I have grown less and less patient with like pretense and people trying to convince you that they are anything other than just what's in front of you, you know? But I think that's come along with probably me realizing that I don't have to do that too, because 22-year-old me maybe didn't have the same insight. So,
Exactly.
I try to be gracious with people too, but I just think that like, so there are formulas in a lot of genres, especially if you want to become commercially successful. And one of the formulas in hip hop is like, you know, like just the tropes of hip hop. Like I don't need to explain them. Like your listeners are smart enough to know what they are. And I guess it's like I love hip hop culture, so I'm not like offended when I hear Freddie Gibbs talk about selling drugs. I know Freddie Gibbs sold drugs, and I love to hear him talk about selling drugs because he does it in an incredibly artful way that means a lot to a lot of people. But the reason it does is because it's fucking good, you know? Like, but if I hear someone who sold weed in high school rap about being a drug kingpin, try to convince me that they're cool so that I will consume their music. Yeah,
because they're trying to hit the buzzwords. Right. They're trying to be, this is topical. Yeah. It will fit with everything else you're probably listening to.
Yes, I sell drugs. I'm hyper violent. Every single woman wants to be with me.
Yeah, and I have every commodity you could ever want as a person.
Yeah. It's just like, it's funny when it's a trope, and it can be like, you know, that's why there's parodies of this. Like,
shout out Weird Al.
Exactly. But also like sometimes the parodies are cringy and offensive too, but it's just like, I would just rather hear that rapper that's trying to convince me. And also if someone's sold fucking drugs, like, and wants to rap about it, more power to you.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I want to hear about it.
Rap about what you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you really did it, then yes.
Yeah, that's the dividing line. I think that, you know, like, to add on to your point, the art of rap, at least in my humble perception, just talking as me, one of the big parts of the art of rap is the ability to tell a story, often a story of struggle, you know, oftentimes where like you had to learn through something, you had to conquer something, you had to achieve past a point. That is how people can share your music. Like people who are going through similar, that gives them an opportunity to see an out because they're going to connect to it no matter what it is. We are ingrained to believe music. That's just how it works. And so, you know, country music is primarily trucks, dogs, guns, women, freedom. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of that in there in the tropes.
Yeah.
But in hip hop, in that realm, the ability to take these stories that are times of your life where like you weren't in the best and to make them relatable, to make them able to be perceived by others who may not be able to understand that is an art. That is also a gift.
Totally.
So to just go and do it just because you're like I said, like buzzwords, it's almost more like you're treating music like social media than you are like an art.
Yeah. And you see that a lot nowadays where people who have a social media following will put out like rap songs. Because it's sad. Like hip hop has in a lot of ways culturally become, well,
it's always been so, it has always had a narrative that was attached to the social part. Like the community of hip hop has always been prominent. Like growing up, I didn't hear much about the community of country music. You know what I mean? Like,
which is sad because there's
it's
like
huge.
It's
huge.
Songwriters rounds, and there's all these like legendary songwriters from that, you know, wrote songs for Nashville legends that never got the accolades that they deserved or whatever, you know. So
it had its own footprint at a certain point though, but hip hop did do a really good job of making a big part of its pillars of existence the community.
Yeah, I think the best music comes from communities. Like I think the best the country music that I like, you know, and I think of someone like Guy Clark, you know, he would host these you know, songwriting sessions at his house where they would just be people playing their songs and people giving them notes on them and saying, hey, here's what I liked, here's what I didn't like.
Well, there are a couple of those that happen around here regularly.
Totally, exactly. Yeah. And it's very similar with like hip hop, maybe informally, like the cypher, and I can think of a lot of times of just getting together with friends and like, hey, this is what I'm working on, whatever, So I think a lot of the best stuff comes out of those communities where there's the openness to be like, hey, like, where can we take this art form that isn't like a trope or a cliche?
Well, and there's something so powerful about being in the room of your peers. Like when you're in a room with regular people that have no interest in being a part of what you're doing, but you're still trying to do it. You're trying to stifle yourself. You're trying to be like, I just want to think, I just want to, like, you know what I mean? Like you're trying to like feel it out, but you're not doing it the right way.
Right.
You're restricting it. You're limiting it so that you can keep it contained to your space and not intrude on the people who that isn't what they're there for. So to be in a room full of people that is 100% what they're there for, that your job is actually to do the opposite of that and take all of the restrictors off, to lean into your craft and like show off your learned ability to people who understand what it took to get to that point. That is theoretically the entire point of making music.
Oh yeah,
that is
totally.
that energy in the room. Like, and I know, just from you talking, I could tell you care very much about the live experience. You care very much about being in the present, and that is always what has been the most powerful part of music. And if anybody says otherwise, just go to a live show. Like that energy you feel there, it doesn't get replicated anywhere else.
Yeah,
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think it's important, and it's something to be aware of when we're trending towards a time where capturing that moment is becoming more valuable than experiencing it. And I think that's another thing to be aware of just like, of course there's the phone thing, but not only that, just like artists bringing huge lights and like some guy with like a bumbling stage rig, like bumping into people in the front of the crowd so they can get like the shot that makes the dude look the coolest. And I realize like people have to do promo and all of that stuff too. I'm not trying to be like critical in that regard.
I feel my whole showcase.
Yes. So well, here we are.
I am that guy.
Right now. Yes. But are you, but there's a way to do things tastefully.
I am beyond
serving the music
about it. Yeah. That's the big thing is like
elbowing fools.
I have like very specific walkways. I sacrifice the shot every time to move out of the way. I've like designed a comfortable atmosphere to go along with it so people feel good about just hanging out.
Yeah.
But yes, that you are very right. Like that is, those elements have become so intrusive for the like what is supposed to be a moment in time where you're supposed to be living with it.
Right.
You're supposed to exist in the myriad, the mire of sound and people and like sweat and like exhilaration. Like that is supposed to be so euphoric that your job is not supposed to be a camera person. Your job is supposed to be a spectator. Your job is supposed to be feeding that energy so that the performers can, capture all of it and release it back tenfold.
Right.
That is such a pivotal, like the audience is such a pivotal part of the performance. But that's never the narrative. I feel like whenever you hear people preaching about something, you're always like, put the phones away because like we need you to like, it's never like, we need you to do your job of hyping us up so we can feed you with this joy.
Right. Totally.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll run on this topic forever though. And there is another portion of this interview. So we're going to move back into it if that's all right.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up. So the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one is pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with and how would you want to work with them?
I want to work with, this is an entity, not a person.
All right.
I want to work with the NHL. Yeah. With like,
interesting.
I'm hockey is such a huge part of my life and such a huge part of the, in some ways the music, not really. I do have a hockey track on the next project.
Nice.
But it's just, I've got a weird intersection of hockey and my art and music communities in my life through the hockey team I play on, and the odd fact that we've all kind of gravitated together, but are also for the most part musicians and artists and stuff like that. And you know, I make hockey jerseys, I design hockey jerseys, so cut, tackle, twill, and all that stuff. I want to figure out a way to like merge my hockey life into my artistic life.
Interesting.
More.
Ooh, you need to get a track on. Do you know the show Shoresy?
Yes.
You should get a track on there.
That would be sick.
That would be rad.
That's the kind
Also,
of stuff I'm trying to do.
Whoever does the soundtrack selection for Letterkenny and Shoresy, my hat's off to. I'm sure you're watching. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's so good. It's so good. But I could definitely see one of your tracks being on Shoresy. So
that'd be awesome. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I want to continue making music about things that are like fun and interesting and things that I love. Like, if I were to tell you like, oh, I'm at the club every day and I have women grinding on me and I'm currently making a lot of money using illicit means, I'd be lying to you in the audience. So I'm
I mean, if you talk about what you love, you never have to talk about anything you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to remember that you lied about something that you did when they
exactly
do.
Exactly. You're like, wait, did I say I do these drugs or I don't do these? No,
yeah. They're like, you said you could get a pound. Like, we need it now. Like, oh, shit. I could probably call some people.
Yeah.
You know, who couldn't? This is Oregon or Washington. But that's neither here nor there.
Fair.
I print t-shirts for a living.
Yes. And the NHL might be one of the coolest answers I've ever gotten to that question. And while it is technically a whole community of people doing a job together, I'll let it count. I think it's a very abstract answer.
Thank you.
Now, subsequently, who's a local person you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
I haven't put anything out with Spinach or Brax. I've been wanting to put something out with those, and I actually worked on some stuff. Worked on a track with Spinach and Corey B that might be on a Tota 3. I'd love to get something with Brax together.
Shout out Brax, by the way.
Yeah.
I think his episode will come out by the time this does.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to get on something with Tron and Melts, their coworker shit. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm not like, I don't leave my house enough. I need to leave my house, which is not because I don't
trust me.
I don't want to be out of the house. I have sadly been working a lot lately.
I'm in the same boat. I have 10 and a half more months until I get to shift up the format. It's a little Easter egg for those of you that watch regularly. This time next year, I'll be going to things.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those dudes are dudes that I am around a lot and see a lot and have a lot of love for, but haven't gotten into the studio with enough.
I'm pretty sure I've reached out to Tron to get to come on the show before. Tron, if you're watching, let's do it. Love to talk to you.
Hell yeah.
Get Meg into it for this next one. Like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. And it doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
That's a good question. Anywhere in the world. Wow. Fuck, dude. I feel like performing at like some like it would have to be a large event, like an amphitheater. Like I love the Gorge, and I feel like performing at the Gorge would be cool, or like Red Rocks or something like that. Yeah, some sort of like really big amphitheater. But if anywhere in the world, that doesn't seem big enough.
No, you know
I feel like you got to go bigger if you're doing anywhere in the world.
Yes and no. I've had people who have picked really small places in like really important places. So they're like, I want to, like, there was somebody who was like, I want to perform for my hometown.
Oh yeah.
And
that's
like,
a cool answer.
And they were just like, and like the population, I think it was like 200 people.
Yeah.
Like it was like some teeny tiny place.
Yeah.
But they were just like to be able to go back to, cause it's not even in America. It was like somewhere where like you had to work to get there, and then to figure out how to get music to happen there was effort. So like they were just like, I just want to bring it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be super cool. The only other place I could really think of is just be somewhere out in nature, like somewhere like really epic in nature.
Aurora did something like that. You should check out her performance if you haven't seen it. It's like straight up just in the forest.
Yeah, I was doing that myself for a while.
I've got a couple live episodes from the show.
Hell yeah.
Performances that I did out in the woods.
I think that's really cool because you separate yourself from like what you typically think of as where you make music, whether it's a studio or inside of a venue. And there's something really freeing about that.
See, I love the duality of both. Like I have the showcases now, and I used to more regularly do the lives, which was just literally think Tiny Desk anywhere but the desk.
Oh yeah.
So like I've done a couple in a forest. I did a single song performance on a yacht.
Sick.
Yeah, I did a full performance. I filmed a full performance at a skate park whilst people were skate parking.
And is this you? So you're filming this, not performing?
Correct. Yeah. No, I am now camera person and interview host.
Oh yeah.
And I guess audio engineer.
Very sick.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing
And producer. I don't know. I wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's very. So I did something very similar. This is during the pandemic. I put out a live verse every week for a year. I did 52 total. It was called Foxtradamus Friday.
Oh hell yeah!
And was I guess
alliteration?
Yeah, it would have been 2021 or 2, but I did. And it's basically I started having to find cool places to go and do it. So there's several in the forest, but a bunch all around Portland, like stuff from like car washes to
car wash is a good one.
Yeah, that's like
car wash is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are all on YouTube. But my favorite one is one that we filmed out near Lost Lake, where I'm just like in this big meadow, and Mount Hood is in the background, and it's like kind of sunset-ish time, and everything's all like pink and blue. It's pretty cool. It's fun. It's fun to get out and make music when it's usually it's just you and whoever's filming it.
Yeah.
Which is its own, like.
Again, I know it well.
Yeah,
I know it well. And, it's interesting because when I was doing it, like I do the showcases now primarily. And those are fun because they are live perform. They are audience, venue, real show. Like, they happen in, like, it's not like I'm just like, hey, come over tonight and do the, it's a real show. So for the observer and the performer, actual gig.
Right.
But for the lives, because they were out in the middle of nowhere, sometimes it would take people a second to be like, oh, there's just no reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that it was like a negative reaction, or only like one or two. There's just nothing. So dependent upon where, and everybody, when we did places where like I did one at Alberta Street Park.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's real nice about just not interjecting. Like that, especially in a place like this, which is very media heavy and people are very used to it.
Yeah.
So like you can go completely unbothered,
right,
to the point where it's like you almost feel like, why is nobody watching?
Yeah, they don't want to. In some ways, I think they don't want to be rude. Like they feel like they'll interrupt or something, or like they'll mess with your vibe or whatever.
Keeping it restricted instead of projecting it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when you get those comfortable like take once they finally get into it. It's always like it's usually not the first take for those kinds of things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With the exception
sometimes
of one,
you get lucky.
Yeah, I'll tell you off camera for the one that had to be a one take. But I'm talking about being too much. I want to get back to you, and I do have one more hypothetical question. If you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Wow. That's a hard one. That's like holding all of the power of the universe in your palm.
Well, it's not to say that the other ones can't also exist. Just
yeah, totally.
It would be a fun one.
I think it would be fun to have heard Blaze Foley actually record something. I don't think he put some stuff out, but it would have been cool to hear a studio album that was like, exactly what he wanted to say. Apparently he had one and he lost the tapes. They were in the back of his car and his car got stolen.
Damn.
But yeah, Blaze Foley, kind of this underground, he's just like underground singer-songwriter, kind of like vagabond, homeless cowboy dude. He was contemporaries with Townes Van Zandt.
Mm-hmm.
He was around that scene. And I'm a big Blaze fan. I think it would have been cool to hear Blaze Foley put something out before he was killed. His project that he did at the Austin Outhouse, the live recordings from that, I think are some of what he's most known for.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have been cool to hear an actual album.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Now, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Oh, cool.
What can we look forward to in the next 6 months?
Yeah, I'll be Meltzer and I are working on a Toto 3 right now. So
Nice.
that will be coming out.
Is it going to be more than 7 tracks?
It is. It's going to be at least 9 or 10. It's a full length.
Cool. If you want to come back and do a tuned in episode when it comes out.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm putting it here so you can remember for later.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, definitely bring that back. I would love to talk about that in full.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think I think I'm sounding good and trying to just continue to remind myself to be authentic and say things that I care about. So I feel like I'm doing that a lot on this album.
Oh yeah. And do you have an idea of when it's coming out, or is it still kind of
it'll probably come out like late summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe sometime around that show that I mentioned in the end of August. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Foxstradamus. And I'm pretty sure, just Google Foxstradamus or Dusty Fox, and the YouTube and Instagram should all pop up.
Oh yeah.
Most of the stuff's on Instagram and all of that. Oh yeah, there's a link in my bio to like the YouTube videos and shit, naturally. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Hungry Hip Hop.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the last Sunday of every month at Mississippi Pizza, but shout out to the MG crew that have been running it the last almost 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing a great job of that. And the Portland Pinecones Hockey Club. Yeah. Go Cones.
Hell yeah. All right. Now, with that being said, I've got one last question to go. Before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But in all the music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a bit of a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
If you're a fan of hip hop, I feel like most real like heads know this, but if you're just kind of like you're more of a casual fan or whatever, The Minstrel Show by Little Brother. Yeah, I think is like possibly
that's actually really
that's like a top 5 album for me of all time. So Fonte is one of my favorite rappers.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone that I've always super admired with just like the lyricism and wordplay and the cleverness and intelligence of his writing. So that's probably like that's a big one for me.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for that rec.
Yeah.
With that being said, we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me to be on. It was really nice talking to you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Fox.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.